Hi everyone, I'm Roxanne Polstra, your Financial Aid and Awards Coordinator here at Ambrose University. Thank you so much for joining today. I'm glad that you're here at Ambrose. Please feel free to download the PowerPoint presentation on the Ambrose website so that you can follow along and have access to the links. My job here is to help you find money, understand income, expenses, and budget, and help you to be more financially capable. Why? Well, if you're at all like me, I want to go on vacations. I like to buy Apple iPhones that cost more than my kids' cars. I like to eat at restaurants sometimes. We all have our wants list. Thank you for joining me on chat. Please feel free to enter questions during the presentation, and I will monitor and answer at the end of the presentation. I do have a fun question for you in the meantime to answer in the chat box. Number one, what would you like to do if you were gifted $6,000 this month? You can also answer why if you like. I repeat, what would you do if you were gifted $6,000 this month? This session is also available on YouTube and later on my financial aid blog. Materials from the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada were developed. It's about 2 to 4 hours of activity and presentation, but I have condensed it into about a 35, at the most 40-minute session. I like the photo on this page because there is one income, multiple expenses, and yet still a balanced financial budget. This module covers how to calculate income after deductions are taken off your paycheck, how to track your expenses and reduce them if you need to, how to prepare a realistic budget, how to plan your finances to achieve your goals, Section 1, Needs and Wants. You might be like her. I need textbooks and a new dress to go out with my friends this Friday. Or you might be like him. I need winter tires, a video game, and money to go out. Or you might be like someone else with a longer list of needs and wants. I think I might fall into that longer list of more than just 3 items. This section covers how to tell the difference between needs and wants, how to set spending priorities, what your usual spending habits are. We're going to learn a lot. Needs, wants, and priorities. A need, a necessity, something required, something essential for life. Want, a desire, something wished for, something non-essential. Priority, something that you have to do first because it is more important than other things. So in the next 3 days, I want you to make a list of things like bottled water, flavored beverages, rent, daycare, transit, gas, smartphone with a plan, Spotify, weekly lunch with Bestie, winter apparel, fitness, sport team membership, etc. Then I want you to prioritize them according to number 1, items that are essential for healthy living. Number 2, items that are not essential but still important. Number 3, items that are not essential and not important. Having items prioritized in your life give you an order in which to pay your expenses. Not that all expenses shouldn't be paid, but when money is tight, these non-essential and non-important items can be temporarily removed from your activity or from your current lifestyle. Here's a quick summary of the key messages. Needs are essential for life. Wants are other things. Balance your needs and your wants. Priorities focus on things you really need and want. Awareness of personal factors like emotions, habits, behaviors can help control your spending. So, for example, be aware of stress shopping or stress eating during your first year or during exam time, and develop healthier alternatives that won't affect your wallet or your waistline. Section 2, Income. This student is trying to address a work versus study life balance. If he is a software developer, most of his time is away from his studies. If he's a writer, that might be fun and take little time away from school. If he works at co-op, that could be a great job experience, good pay, and with flex hours, manageable workload with study and class schedule. Combined with bursary and summary savings, this job allows good grades and covering expenses. And co-op also offers scholarships. I like that, of course. Funding my education. This section covers how to understand your paycheck, how to calculate your total income from all your sources, including resources to fund your studies. What to do if your income drops unexpectedly. I'd like to say that never happens, but it has on occasion. For most of us, our main source of income is our job. Most people get paid through a bi-weekly or semi-monthly paycheck. But you may get paid irregularly if you do contract consulting or seasonal work or odd jobs. Below is a sample paycheck and pay stub. This is for a person who gets paid an hourly wage of $17. Note that in Quebec, paychecks also include deductions for provincial taxes. Number 1, on the right side, the year to date, or YTD, the total amount of pay and deductions from the beginning of the year through the current pay period. On the left side, number 2, gross income or regular pay as noted on this stub, the total amount of pay before any deductions are taken out. Number 3, just below that, is your EI, your employment insurance, a percentage of gross income paid by employees and employers to provide temporary payment workers when they become unemployed. Self-employed can access EI for special benefits. For more information, make sure that you visit Service Canada website, employment insurance, special benefits for self-employed people. Number 4, Canada Pension CPP and Quebec Pension QPP. This is a percentage of gross income paid by employees and employers to provide income when workers retire or become disabled or for survivor benefits. The employee contribution is a 4.95%, and the combined contribution from both sources is 9.9% of your gross income. Number 5, other deductions. This may include private pension plans, health insurance premiums, union dues, and professional fees, transfers to your registered savings plans, and charitable donations, thus other. So let's go to number 6. This is the bottom left corner. Net pay, the amount of pay remaining after deductions are taken out. So your paycheck may show a deduction for vacation pay. This is a portion of your salary, ranging from 4 to 6%, that you are entitled to receive as part of your pay. For most full-time employees, this equals 2 to 3 weeks of vacation, annually with pay. Casual and part-time employees often receive their vacation pay on each paycheck. Employers usually keep vacation pay in a separate fund and pay it to you when you take your vacation. For some types of employment, it may show on the payment stub. A side note, where I forget how old I am and sometimes how young my kids actually are. For example, if you need money today and you have the check in hand, don't deposit your check by taking a photo with your phone. Go to the bank. Why, you ask? Because checks are held for anywhere between 5 to 10 days. That means if you have just $10 in your bank checking account and you take a photo of your $450 check, you can't now just withdraw $80 and e-transfer it to someone else. It will take days for that $450 check to clear. So keep that in mind as you're doing things. Yes, it takes time. The next slide, funding my education, my sources of income. So click on the link there. I'll give you a moment for that. In addition to your job, you may have other sources of income. Use this fillable chart to identify all your sources of income. Then calculate your total monthly and yearly income. You may want to collect recent pay stubs and income tax statements to get accurate figures. For employment income, include any second or part-time jobs after deductions. Number 2, government payments. Oh, I feel like I've repeated some of this. This is your CPP and QPP, and then self-employment. I have repeated this already. That's okay. I'm just going to let this catch up to the system here. Okay, let's go back to the PowerPoint and go on to the next slide. Let's continue on with funding my education. I like this page because it references only free money, institutional need, what is it, and merit-based awards. I host another workshop on the second week of January on Ambrose Awards and popular external awards. For now, here are some external awards for homework. External awards like Universities Canada, Iconic Student Awards, Scholarships Canada, Lauren Scholars, Inspire, yes, that's spelt correctly, Aboriginal bursaries, and there's lots of search tools there for you. Disability awards. I feel like that's just the beginning of them. Bursaries are need-based or financial need. Scholarships are merit-based. Grants are based on listed criteria. I tell people that another word for grants is gift money, but really this whole page is full of gift money, as you don't ever have to return any of these awards back. Let's go to the next slide. Government aid. Financial assistance in the form of loans and grants to post-secondary students who demonstrate financial need. It is based on the province of residency and not on the institution or location. How to apply? Let me try that again. Generally, online through the province of residence portal. So, side note for you, question. You lose your part-time job, and shortly after midterms and needs that indicate additional funding to make it through the school year. You need help. Now that school is more than half over, is it too late to apply for government student aid? The answer, no. You can apply for a student loan 30 days before the end of the semester term for which you are applying for money. That's good news. By the way, this image is taken from a 2015-16 Canada Student Loans Report. So the numbers are out of date, but still kind of interesting. Let's go to the next slide. I want to take a few moments to look at these Ambrose links. Please click on the Ambrose #1 financial aid page. This first page is my financial aid homepage. After the description of how many millions of dollars are available to students, there are multiple links leading to approximately 10 or more pages. See and click on, for example, student loans. Now, this is on the left-hand side of the financial aid page. This page references what you need handy to apply. Apply for Canadian and American loans, maintaining interest-free loans while you study, what to do if circumstances change, etc. Versus, going back to the PowerPoint, now click on the Canada Student Loan section, or loans, highlighted there under #1. So over there, this page wants to show you loans which, when it breaks down more so into provincial requirements and applications. Okay. Let's now go back to the financial aid homepage. I'd like also to point out our general award information and policies on the right-hand side of our financial aid page. So there's a bunch of things, then near the bottom is the awards and policies page or link. So this page discusses how and when you will receive various awards, scholarships and bursaries, award information. Okay, that's it for that. Let's go way back to the PowerPoint again and go to item number 2. Click on this quickly, please. This is another big page for my group for financial aid, as it is a lot of our entrance and continuing scholarships. So that's about all I'm going to say about that, but make sure you take time to scroll through it and find that continuing student scholarship for later on in January. Okay, now let's go back to the PowerPoint. Click on number 3. This page is financial tools and resources. It allows you quite a few external links to other scholarships and also links to helpful articles back on the PowerPoint. Let's go there. Let's go to and click on to number 4. So this page is our sources of financial assistance. It's really good because not only does it remind you to talk to your parents or your favorite uncle or aunt, but it encourages you to talk about financing. But it's also references, for example, our Ambrose job board. At this time, I like to mention to students when I'm talking to them to say, you know, if you have a part-time job, whether it be during the year or over the summer, ask your employer if there is any scholarships for university for students. Okay, let's go back to the PowerPoint. Let's click on number 5. So this page isn't owned by me at all. It's actually owned by the registrar and finance groups, but still it's pretty handy for you. Wow, we're finally done with this slide. Sorry for bouncing you around. That was a lot of bouncing. Let's go to slide 15 for replacing your lost income. The thing that none of us wants to happen, but it does happen. I am going to quickly read this slide out for you. Tap into your savings or your emergency fund. Hint, make sure that you have an emergency fund. I hope that COVID has taught all of us to be more disciplined and set aside money for the unforeseen pandemics in life. Ask your family and friends, perhaps providers for life, for loans, for contributions. Ask your educational institution for loans. Need-based scholarships, awards, realizing that there are typically deadlines which are normally adhered to. Apply for external funding from associations or institutions or private foundations. Use Google if all else fails and has been already tried. Look into bank loans, student line of credit. Ask for a better interest rate as you're a very poor student. Search for a part-time job during the academic year if course load allows, and or full-time job during the summer or winter breaks. Students with disability may contact their institution or government for potential grants and loans. Depending on the province, students may look into employment insurance. That was a mouthful. Let's go to the next slide. Summary of our key messages. A job is the main source of income, but there are others. As a student, it's important to explore other available resources to fund your studies. Deductions are taken off paychecks for taxes, social programs, etc. Net income is what you end up taking home with you after deductions. Set aside money for an emergency fund. Again, emergency fund. Who could have predicted COVID-19 pandemic and the ramifications from it? Once every 100 years, they say? I don't know. Let's go to the next slide. Expenses. How are we broke at the end of every month? Until we break it down, we will never know. Ignorance is not bliss when it comes to financial stress. Let's go to the next slide. This section covers how to get a true picture of what you actually spend, how to reduce your expenses and put aside money for savings and other goals. more than just that emergency fund too. So, how do you know what you spend? There are a few different formats, but basically you need to know 5 things. Number 1, keep every receipt in a folder or an electronic format, as a picture even. Number 2, record every expense every day, cash, debit, credit. Number 3, list irregular expenses, gifts, donations, taxes, repairs, etc. Number 4, total your expenses at the end of the month. Number 5, do this at least 3 months. For example, in 2015, a company that I had worked hard for 20 years downsized, and I needed to know where the money was going. I created a spreadsheet and calculated the few deposits in black. There's like 2 every month if I'm lucky. And then all of the many withdrawals, negative numbers like water, gas, TV, groceries, etc., in red. My goal each month was to have a total at the end that turned out to be in black, not in red. Let's try and create something sustainable. Do something that works for you. The app that I usually recommend is a free app called Mint, www.mint.com. This app is automated where others are not. It is created by the same company that created QuickBooks and TurboTax, so it's more secure to use. I don't know about you, but I use TurboTax every year. Anyway, next slide. Let's reduce unnecessary spending. Save your money for essentials. Focus spending cuts on non-essentials. Discretionary spending is what I call it. Easier to cut back on non-essentials. Even small daily savings add up. For example, if you can save $5 a day, that works out to $1,825 a year. What do the savings mean in the long run for your RESPs? Let's assume a 4% rate of return. An investment of $20 a month for the next 35 years starting now in a savings account equals $17,676. Or if I put aside $30 a month for the next 35 years starting now in a savings account, that equals $26,514. This does not even take into consideration the tax deductions that you would receive on your tax return. For more details, later you can check out the link in the PowerPoint investing module. Let's go to the next slide. Cutting back my discretionary spending. Ouch. This is another good worksheet. We won't click on it due to time, but use this worksheet to mark areas where you could cut back. Calculate how much you would save per week and per month. Then write down what else you could do with that money. That's the fun part. There are many other things that I would love to plan and be able to do if only I hadn't dwindled away the money that I spend all the time. Next slide. Tips to reduce those expenses. Number 1, let's do it yourself. Eat at home, shop smarter, buy on sale, in bulk or package discounts. Cut out anything you don't use, subscriptions, memberships, etc. Use less energy, turn off the lights. Turn down the switches, walk, cycle, take transit, find cheap recreation, entertain at home, go to free events, etc. Do not buy groceries when hungry. Eat a snack before you go shopping. Make your coffee or your tea. Budget the week to avoid overspending. Have a list before entering the store. Avoid debt regret. Do your research and shop around before refinancing existing debt or adding more debt. Wait and save rather than purchase on credit. And put that saving money into a separate account. If you don't see it, you don't always spend it. All right, let's go to the next slide. Calculating your expenses. Track your spending to gain control. Here are a few definitions to help us and find out what they are. Fixed expenses. Those come up every month and are roughly the same each month, like your rent, utilities, loan repayments, and cell phone bills. Other examples are tuition. Variable expenses are those that may vary from month to month, like food, entertainment, travel, books, and supplies, as well as car repairs. Irregular expenses. They come up through the year, like Christmas shopping and festivities. Then there's those unplanned expenses. These surprises you can't plan for. Now let's watch a video. It's about 5 minutes long. We'll just get it queued up here for you.
Spending money is both a necessity and a pleasure. The problem is that regularly spending too much can lead to big problems in the long run. It's worth taking a moment to stop and look closely at our spending habits in order to figure out ways to avoid overspending. It's easy to do and helps us to steer clear of debt and start saving money. Is overspending a common problem? What are the things that lead people to spend more than they should? Let's find out.
Most unnecessary frivolous thing, junk food. Just buy way too much of that stuff.
Mostly like iced coffee and clothes, I guess. Alcohol, very useless. A lot of money. I spend about $20 or $30 a week just on like food and coffee and stuff.
I would say in excess of $40.
Everyone has a few expenses that can be reduced fairly easily. But making sacrifices doesn't necessarily mean missing out on the things that you value. It's important to figure out what things you want and what things you really need. Take a moment to consider which of your regular purchases are necessary and which are not. This can help you identify and get what you really want. It's usually quite easy to identify the main things we spend too much money on, even if it is only a small amount each time. Take your lunch break at work, for example. Many of us need to visit a cafe or a restaurant, but spending $5 or $10 in this way every day really adds up. This is the kind of spending that can easily be reduced by recognizing that buying a meal is a want rather than a need. There are many ways of cutting down on expenses without having to give up on the things you want. For example, try making a sandwich at home and bringing it with you to work instead of buying it at a cafe. Even $5 a day adds up to a lot of money over time, and the sacrifice we make in order to save is only a small one. When spending and saving, your needs should always be the priority. Identify the most common unnecessary expenses in your daily habits.
How often are you eating out each week? Do you impulsively buy items such as clothing, jewelry, and electronic gadgets? Are you regularly buying things you don't need, such as bottled water or lottery tickets? How much do you spend each month at pubs and clubs, health spas, and manicurists? Could you possibly walk, cycle, or use public transit more often?
Once you've identified your unnecessary expenses, consider simple and practical ways of reducing or replacing these expenses. It could be something as simple as bringing your own water bottle or renting videos instead of going to the movies. Try leaving your credit cards at home when you go out shopping and making a list of the items you need before you go. Then stick to it. You can set aside a certain amount of money each month for additional spending and indulgences. Do some research on the prices and sleep on it before you make expensive purchases.
Think before you buy and wait like a day before you buy things. I think a good trick would just be not to have any change on you because that usually I see I've changed in my wallet and I'm like, oh look, I'll go buy myself a coffee.
If you're working in a place like downtown, it's so easy to pop up to a restaurant for lunch. But if you're taking sandwiches or food that you prepared at home and you bring it in, not only is it healthier, it's going to be a lot cheaper in the long run.
The $5 you save each day by bringing a sandwich with you instead of buying it at work adds up to at least $25 a week.
Over a month, that adds up to $100 in accumulated savings. And by the end of a full year, you could have saved $1,200. That $1,200 can grow even more if you invest the money. For example, Let's assume that by investing your savings or using them to pay down your mortgage, you can earn 6% per year on your savings. With a 6% annual investment return, your $1,200 of annual savings can grow to nearly $7,000 in 5 years, $16,000 in 10 years, and $70,000 in 25 years.
Paying attention to your daily spending habits can really help. Making even small changes to the way you spend can really add up and make it easy for you to save. Know the difference between your wants and your needs. Spend on your needs first. Avoid making impulse purchases. Even the small amounts you save can grow into big savings over time.
To build your financial knowledge, go to your financial toolkit at itpaystoknow.gc.ca.
Well, that video summed up everything quite nicely. Here too is a summary of key messages. Expenses may be fixed or variable. Track your daily expenses. Include irregular and unexpected expenses. To reduce unnecessary spending, avoid impulse buying. Make easy lifestyle changes. Make smart shopping choices. Put money for unexpected expenses in a special account. A lot of transferring. Next section, next page. Budgeting pause. Budgeting. I'll let you read this comic. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Budgeting, the verb. This section covers how to compare income with expenses in a budget, how to adjust your budget, how to balance it, or even achieve a surplus. Oh, amen to that. How to budget your up-to-date and be realistic. Let's go to the next slide. Budget, the noun. We will also look at a comparison of income and expenses, an organized way to manage your money. Income minus expenses equals surplus or deficit. Let's click on the link in the word budget. So this is the next worksheet. I'd like you to enter your total monthly income and total monthly expenses. Then subtract your expenses from your income to see if you have a surplus or a deficit. The instructions are at the top of the page. You can also use the budget calculator from the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada. This is a useful and complete interactive tool to create your household budget. You can go to www.fcac.gc.ca and click on Budget Calculator under the For Consumers tab. Again, we don't have time to go through this worksheet, but it is a good exercise to do once you have completed the other worksheets. Let's go back to the PowerPoint and go on to the next slide. Keep your budget up to date and realistic. Budgeting is an ongoing activity. Check that income and expenses are correct. Keep your savings and debt repayment. If you are moving toward a deficit or a surplus, see where you can make changes to meet your goals. Let's go to the next slide. Hooray! We're at the summary of key messages. A budget compares income and expenses. If you have a surplus, repay debt and increase your savings. If you have a deficit, reduce your spending or increase your income. Find and use a method tool to track and manage your spending that works best for you. Keep your budget regularly to keep it up to date and realistic. Remember, your income and expenses are not static from month to month, so neither is your budget. Adjust your monthly budget as changes arise to keep your financial plan and goals on track. Let's go to the next slide. This is the last section. Stay with me, we're nearly done. Budgeting to reach your goals. Let's plan a vacation. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so how do you budget to reach your goals? We will review. how to identify short, medium, and long-term financial goals, how to define your goals so they are achievable, how to use your budget to help you reach your goals. Now, let's watch a bit of a shorter video on budgeting to reach your goals. This video is just under 4 minutes, 3.5 minutes. We'll click on it momentarily. Thanks.
If you want to travel to a place that you have never visited before, you need a good map. It's the same with your finances. To manage your money well, you need to know where you want to go. That means setting financial goals. Being without them is like being lost in the woods without a compass. We have no direction and can't find a way out. There are things in life that are really important to us but take a lot of money. For example, ensuring your child has access to the education and training they need for the career they want, taking a vacation, or having enough funds to enjoy your retirement. For most people, expenses like this can't be paid on the spot, and setting aside a large sum of money takes some time. But it isn't enough simply to identify a general aim. Knowing that you want to go on vacation is a start, but the goal doesn't tell you how much it will cost, how long you have to get the money, or how you will save for it. How will you know when you have reached the goal? If you don't know these details, you won't know if you're heading towards your goal or if you have to change your strategy in order to reach it. SMART goals make it easier for you to plan how to save for the goal, how to measure your progress, how long you have to work towards it, and how to know when you have reached your goal. Instead of just, I want to save for a vacation, a SMART goal would be to say, I want to save $5,000 for a trip to New York within 10 months. It's specific because you know exactly what you're saving for, a trip to New York. It's measurable because you know how much you will need, $5,000. It's achievable because you can break the total needed into smaller steps and you will know how much you need to put aside each week or at each paycheck. It's realistic because you know that you can change your budget or your goals to make it work. And finally, it's time frame because you've set a deadline. I want to be standing in Times Square in 10 months' time. Let's look at how you might go about setting a SMART goal for your vacation to New York. First, divide the total amount you need by the number of months you have. In this case, $5,000 over 10 months equals $500 per month. Then, add this amount to your monthly budget, taking into account your other necessary expenses and your monthly income. See if you have enough income to meet your total monthly budget needs. If not, you'll have to either increase your income, reduce your other expenses, reduce your vacation budget, or give yourself more time to save for the vacation. We all have ambitions and objectives that we work towards, and setting realistic and achievable financial goals is one of the most important factors in reaching them. Working towards very specific financial goals is easier than working towards vague or general ones. Knowing how to set goals and budget for them requires a bit of forethought and planning, but this is easy to do and can lead to huge benefits later on. Setting SMART goals can make it easier for you to achieve your financial goals. This can mean the difference between success and failure. Take a moment to consider your objectives and set SMART goals in order to stay on track and make your dreams a reality. To build your financial knowledge, go to your financial toolkit at itpaystoknow.gc.ca.
Beth, you look so great. We are already on the summary. Set short, medium, and long-term financial goals. Set goals that are SMART. They need to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-framed. Break your goals into monthly savings and adjust your finances to meet your monthly saving goals. All right, last step, your action plan, which is a comprehensive checklist of what you should do. Later on, check on the links provided on this page of the PowerPoint, and it will take you, or PDF, it will take you to your homework. that you have mostly worked already. So there's a whole bunch of links there. We're set to go. Now, I'm on my nearing the end slides. Any questions or comments? Let's see what's in our chat box at this time. Any answers to our fun question? What would you do if you were gifted $6,000 this month? If it were me, I would use the money for bathroom renovation. Our bathroom, mom and dad's. Any questions on the chat for us? Nothing? Well, if you think of something, let me know. And we'll continue on. So we'll bounce back to it and come back to it. So the second last page is a reference of links. This first 4 items are from the PowerPoint. So they're all there. Then I have a picture of the Debt-Free Graduate. This is a preferred book that I recommend. I read and quite enjoyed it. And then the last item is a reference to a bunch of workbooks that I keep in my office that are available to students who actually prefer a workbook where pen and paper are used rather than completing all of these online forms or printing each of the aforementioned worksheets. On the very last page, I have my contact information. You can take a picture if you like, but I'm on the Ambrose website and this information is posted on the bottom of all my emails. My next workshop is in January on internal and external awards. In April, I will have a workshop on repayment of loans for those students in their last year of education. Thank you so much for joining me. Any last questions? No, I think we're still good. Excellent. Well, I want you to have a wonderful week and semester. I wish you all financial health and a thankful heart. Thanks, you guys. Bye now.